Welcome back everyone, and today we're going to be doing a review over the Gundam Heavyarms from Gundam Wing. Now I believe this is supposed to be more anime accurate, and I will have to be honest with you, I have not watched Gundam Wing, and I do have some mixed feelings about this kit, so this review might be a little interesting. But let's get into it guys and see what we think. Now, as for accessories, of course, with a high grade you always got a decent bit of a sticker sheet here. But these actually place pretty well. All the black ones here, even these yellow ones. The only ones you'll really have trouble with are these blue triangular ones. And they go on the chest there, and we'll go over those a bit more here in a little bit. But I've seen a lot worse than this, so this isn't too terrible. And like I said, I'll point them out and they actually place pretty well for the most part. Then you also get multiple hands options, which you usually don't get this many with a high grade to be honest, but I think some of them like the thumbs up here, which I believe is actually from the Sandrock, the high grade Sandrock kit for holding his swords. You do get one of each of those, which he may not have any swords, but ain't nothing wrong with the Heavyarms giving a good old thumbs up. And then you also have a couple of open expressive hands, which I do prefer that these be a bit more open. Hand styles like this are nice for kits that have like a rifle, more like the GM Sniper or anything with a rifle really, because these are great for the posing and having it like it's holding the fore end of the rifle, giving it support. And Heavyarms doesn't have a rifle, he has a Gatling gun, and I don't think he's going to be holding the fore end of that. But you do get one of each of those for each hand, so that's not bad. And then we'll go ahead and get to the Gatling gun here. Oh, and so I don't forget, there is a little piece here. There's an adapter so you can peg on the Gatling gun to the backpack, in which you can put that on either side, as you can see there, the backpack. And also, of course, his iconic Bowie knife. Simple design, it just swings out right there. It's just all the connections just molded in with the forearm there, which I would have liked it to have been maybe a separate piece with simply just peg onto the back of the arm there. But that's not really a big complaint at all. It functions just fine and serves its purpose. And then you have his Gatling gun and shield here, which I know is supposed to be anime accurate for the most part. Like I said, I haven't watched the show, which is the next one I'd probably need to get into. But honestly, I don't care much for the design of this. Or maybe it's not so much the design, it's how it connects to the mobile suit, which is pretty simple really. You just remove his hand here from the arm, and it just slides onto the arm of the mobile suit like so. And this is probably some personal preference here, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not a big fan of just the whole arm becoming the weapon in this sense. But like I said, personal preference. It is anime accurate, it does fit on there well, but it is a little loose. So if you're going to be putting this on his arm, you're probably going to want to maybe spread a little bit of super glue on the inside of that and let that dry good before you put it on there. Trust me, I've messed up some joints doing that. And that way it'll kind of hold on there a little tighter for you so it doesn't want to slide off. But also the bad thing about this design is for the fact that if you paint. Now if you paint, you're either going to want to have this probably attached on there, and that's going to be on there the whole time, that's it. Or not, because once you paint and you keep maybe putting this on there and off, it's going to scratch and tear the paint up pretty bad on that arm pretty quickly. But all in all, the design, how this is all put together, there's really no seam lines. The multiple barrels right through here, those are two pieces sandwiched together, but the way they have it, you can't really see the seam line on that, so that was done very nicely. This is just a simple cap onto the end of that. The shield is hollow on the back side. Of course, it is just a simple high grade. Got the secondary handle here. And that's about it. It has some mold lines on it, but those are easily removed, just a little bit of sanding. But that's basically all there is for his accessories, so I guess now we'll get into some of the articulation and things. Alright, now before we get into the articulation, I want to go over the seam lines and sticker placement on this. Now of course, as usual, you got the eye stickers up underneath there, the camera sensor there on the front of the head, and then you have the one on the back of the head as well. Now these are those blue stickers I was telling you about. Here they're I'll just be honest with you, they're not going to stay in place. You're going to end up losing those eventually, because they have them on the detail here is a raised sort of rounded top. Now if they done like a raised flat surface on there, probably would work just fine, but those are going to eventually come off. But out of the rest of the stickers, those are the worst ones. You have these on the side skirts here, black ones that come across here, down here at the bottom. Those are kind of in that recessed area, and those will stay in there pretty well. I wouldn't worry about those. Of course, right here through the back skirting. Then the same on this side skirt, right here across the top, and then the bottom here. Oh, and you have these little yellow and black ones here, which they actually place pretty well, and they haven't moved or given me any trouble yet, and don't look like they're coming off at all so far. I built this probably, I guess it's been about a week. And then you have these here on the shins. Just simple little gray and black ones for little vents or whatever. And then you have 4 of these little gray and black ones here that go on the ankles. You got one for each side, inside and out here. So overall, the stickers are not bad on this. It's just the ones here on the chest. And then for seam lines, as usual, which they did a pretty decent job on most seam lines on this kit, is you have the one right down here across the shoulder armor, which they did their best to hide it, which really isn't too bad what they did there. Oop, let me get that off there and get it out of the way anyways. Then of course you have one that runs across the backpack here. It's 2 halves put together, which the shoulder and the backpack should be pretty easy to remove. I wouldn't worry too much about those. It's the lower legs here, which this is covered up mostly by this part. This is a separate piece on the shin, but you still see this one right down through here. And on the back of the leg, it's made into a panel line through here, but the bottom half of it, you can still see that seam line pretty good through there. But one of the nice things about the design of this kit is the kits that are designed like this, where you just slot the joint piece into the top of the leg piece or whatever, it might be arm or whatever. These are nice because you don't have to worry about masking to keep that covered, if you paint, that is. So you can take this part, glue it together, sand it down and smooth it all out, and you got your poly cap there. You don't have to worry about the joint still being in there. When it comes time, you can simply just slide it back together and you're all set there. So that is one nice little design I like about some of the high grades when it comes to seam removal and things like that. Kind of makes your job a little bit easier. But yeah, I think that is it for the seam lines. Let's get into the articulation, and as par for the course, we'll work our way from the head down. You have the typical chicken neck here. It's on a poly cap, so that's not too bad. You got the shoulders here, and the poly cap swings out to the front, which actually gives you quite a bit of movement front just from the poly cap itself. So that's pretty nice right there. We might try to cross his arms in a pose here towards the end. And of course the shoulder armor does move independently of the arm, and the hand just popped off. Let's set that there. And then of course you do have rotation at the upper bicep, a nice double bend there in the arm. Can't ask for more than that. And now for the wrists, of course, are typical ball joint, but these are very loose. So I mean, he doesn't really have any weapons or accessories that expect him to hold any weight up. But honestly, these can pop out very easy, so I kind of keep an eye on making sure you don't lose those. But you can tighten that joint up a little bit. It's pretty easy with some super glue. Just like I said earlier, make sure it's dry before you put it back in the arm, or you'll have problems. And now for the other small articulation here, the opening hatches for the gimmicks for Heavyarms. I mean, it would be Heavyarms if you didn't have these. All the rockets and the Gatling guns and everything in the chest. But I do have one complaint about how they implemented this. Just the look at the hinge here for these, it just makes it look very toyish to me. The chest isn't so bad. Once you paint that little orange piece where the hinge is, that should look pretty good. Just kind of paint it the same white, mask it off a little bit, which are actually separate pieces. But in my head, which I could be wrong, I'm no engineer by any means, trust me. As you can see, it's like a separate piece there that snaps into the front panel, and then this just pegs into the hole there. But honestly, I think if they kind of reverse the design where the peg slot into the front panel, and then the rounded part there for the hinge kind of clipped off in the side of the shoulder armor here, it would have gotten rid of the big, just that big bulbous piece there for the hatch thing. But that is just one of the complaints I have about that. That just kind of personal gripe, I know, but they could have done a little bit better job on that. But other than that, the opening hatch gimmicks do work great. Of course, the ones down here on the lower calves, rocket launches there, he's got one on each side. They both work just fine. These come, of course, connected, but you can separate them easy enough and they'll move independently. And the side skirt, typical polycap, you have some up and down, and then front to back movement. And the back skirt here actually moves as well. You get pretty good movement out of that, to be honest. Don't get that very often out of a high grade. And there's another gimmick on this. Actually, probably easier if I just popped off the skirt here for his ab crunch. And if you can see up in there, you can see that much better with that skirt off of there. And there's a little hinge part. Oh, okay, don't pull it too hard. That was my fault, not the kid's fault. But it gives you a little extra ab crunch there, that little gimmick in there. And actually, not too bad. It gives you pretty decent ab crunch out of that. This little pivot point there. Thought that was pretty neat. It's got little aspects like that I really like about this kit. Overall, this kit does have pretty good articulation. I'll snap that back on. Now as for the legs, make sure that skirt armor is up out of the way, and you do get a very good kick to the front with the legs. And for the back, since you have that moving back skirt, can't complain about the kick to the back like that. That's pretty good. And then also out to the side, get that side skirt armor out of the way, and it'll do the splits, that's for sure. Plenty of articulation there. Good upper leg rotation. It's not 360, but you don't really need 360. It gives you more than you could need. And then for the knee bend, got a good double joint in knee there. Doesn't bend quite all the way, but all in all, I mean, you can't really ask for much more. It's pretty decent. Now for the ankle armor here is connected to the ankle joint from a ball socket peg just right here on the side. So that gives you quite a bit of movement in all there, up and down. And I do have another complaint about the ankle armor. I don't know, it just seems like it's a little misproportioned. I think if they just kind of brought it in just a little bit, it would have fit a lot better, because it just seems to stick out so far and leave such a big gap all in around the front of the foot right in through here. But now for the foot, you get a pretty good side to side there out of that actually. It's pretty darn nice. And for a high grade, this actually comes with a toe bend, which you hardly ever get on a high grade. That's a good down, then up, and then the whole foot, of course, will do a full rocking forward and back. So you get pretty good movement out of that foot and ankle. That's very nice. I mean, all in all, this kit does have some pretty great articulation. And now for my final thoughts on the kit. For the most part, the few complaints I do have about the kit aren't that horrible. They're just personal preferences. I'm just being picky. I mean, come on, it's a mecha loaded to the gills with rockets, a Gatling gun, and hell, a Bowie knife. And I know there's a lot of y'all that have been waiting for a good while for the high grade of the Heavyarms to come out, and if you're one of those, you definitely won't be disappointed. Go ahead and pick it up. I mean, it's got a great silhouette, nice part separation, nice little bits of detail on them. It's not over the top or anything, which of course is supposed to be more of an anime sort of version. But this guy's got great articulation. Not too bad on seam lines. Stickers are a little and I mean, it's a solid build. You can't go wrong with that. I think I picked it up for about 20 USD, so yeah, you'll be happy with it. The few complaints I do have about it are all personal, so that's not really all that big a deal. The kit itself is great. And guys, hopefully y'all enjoyed the video, and if y'all did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want. But guys, y'all take it easy, and I'll talk to you later.